Welcome to Wednesdays with Willie, and the tables have been turned, evidently. Getting interviewed myself by Maria Fregosi.
That's
what
correct.
happened? I leave for a couple days, and all of a sudden there's like a coup. The table.
That's
is
right.
turned, so
Welcome to Wednesdays with Willie with Maria Fregosi.
Right.
So let's get right down to it. You are the CEO here.
I am.
And what does a CEO do every day?
Well, I really try to set the direction and the tone for the organization. That's what I do. So, that involves a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
Business planning, trying to look at what's going on in the market and figure out how we want to be positioned against it. Look at our internal environment. Obviously, I've talked a lot about culture, and from a cultural standpoint, very focused on making sure that the We Care philosophy is embedded in what we do and where we work and how we interact with each other. So I talk to a lot of people, both within the organization and outside the organization. I'm always, to a certain extent, recruiting, I guess, and not. We want to go hire people, but trying to understand what resources are available in the market so that we can continue to build a strong home point.
Okay. I know a lot of people probably wonder what it's like to not have a boss. So I'm curious if you could inform people. Do you have a boss?
Well, I do.
And what does that mean?
Yeah, I think isn't there a saying like everybody has a boss?
Everybody has a boss.
Yeah, so I report to the board of directors.
Right. I think a lot of people don't understand that.
Yeah, so I am one of 4 people in the board of directors. Mm-hmm. The other 3 are all from our private equity partners, Stone Point Capital, and I'd say it's a very collaborative arrangement. So reporting to them, it's really kind of a pleasure to report to them because obviously they've been a very strong partner of ours. Right. It's very interesting to get their perspective on things and integrate it into what we do. And I'd say they're very flexible and kind of allowing us to execute. And they understand that the business is it's not a straight line type of a business, mortgage banking. There's a lot of different market elements that influence it, as
especially
you know,
recently.
as you know only too well,
yes.
Based on your role and your background.
Yeah.
But I do have a boss. Or bosses. I report to the board of directors.
And then you also have all of us.
That's right. And I kind of feel like I think you know this. I kind of feel like to a certain extent I work for everybody here.
Right.
And that's why especially the cultural element is so important to me, is because I feel responsibility every day to ensure that I'm doing the best I can to create an environment that's where there's opportunities for everybody.
Right. So what made you decide to start Home Point? I know you've given that story to some people, but we have a lot of new people in the audience. So what made you decide to start Home Point?
Yeah, for a number of years I've had this vision about how to build a leader in mortgage banking, and you and I both worked for an organization that I felt was a very strong organization. We were a top 10 originator and servicer. I think we had a good culture. I think we had opportunities, but there was a number of reasons why we didn't end up taking it all the way to its what we felt maybe was the logical conclusion, and it was eventually the business was sold. The market changed pretty dramatically after the financial crisis, and I had a vision that there was a way to build a business that had a lot of the whether there's cultural or philosophical or even strategic, felt like where we worked previously, but was kind of tailored for the environment that we were in, whether it's the economic environment, the regulatory environment, the competitive environment. And so I started doing that with another organization, and unfortunately that was not able to be brought to its logical conclusion. We had intended or had started to look at selling the business. It didn't happen. So I kind of felt like there was unfinished business. Okay. And I felt like there, not only was an opportunity to do that, but also to get people together and again create that environment that where people have an opportunity to be successful and to be part of something that is special.
And also not be part of a bank, because really your 2 previous were part of a bank.
Yeah, and really my whole career has been within banks, and that was one thing that I'd observed even in the last my last build was that the environment had really kind of turned against banks, or maybe it had turned for non-banks, based on some of the regulatory changes, based on the competitive environment and the opportunities, especially with private equity, to be able to bring in sufficient capital to be able to build a really kind of top tier mortgage business. So And that's been a lot of fun.
Right.
It's been a lot of
different.
fun.
It's fun and different,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah. And you don't have to worry about the deposit base and
That's
that whole
right.
piece of
Yeah.
the puzzle.
Yeah, there were reasons, in 2010 when I started the last one, there were reasons that we did it within a bank.
Mm-hmm.
And there are reasons now that we're doing it in a non-bank. But as you know, a lot of it is because we have a very strong private equity partner.
Right.
That
The capital.
provides us, sufficient capital to be able to build a real, kind of world-class mortgage business.
Right. So now let's get to the truly hard-hitting questions. What do you like to do outside of homeland?
Well, I like to spend time with my children, and as they get older, they don't really enjoy that as much. But, I manage to find things that they're interested in doing. They usually cost me more money than they used to when they were, we used to go to the playground. But so I have three daughters, 20, 18, and 16 now. And, so the college experience, again, I'm learning about that and learning about choosing schools, as you know.
Yes,
And,
in the same boat.
and then also dealing with a teenager who is very social.
Okay.
The teenage, and they're all young ladies, so I'm not as familiar with being a young lady. As a matter of fact, not at all, but I've kind of learned, I guess, a little bit. I also really like to read. I read a lot, books, current topical things. I'm kind of a nerd, read Economist, I read New York Times, all kinds of stuff that my girlfriend kind of says, why do you do these things? And I like wine.
I've heard that.
I like drinking it, I like growing it.
Yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about your
I
wine
like
farm?
talking about it. Yeah, so I bought a property out in California about I guess now it's 11 years. And I had this idea when I retired that maybe it'd be fun to own a vineyard. And I'm a little bit hyper and I talk fast, as everybody knows. So I didn't feel like retiring and going to the golf course would be appropriate for me or would work. So I did that, and as you know, I had some time off, and so I accelerated the plan, and so now I have a working vineyard that I unfortunately don't get out to very much, but I enjoy the fruits of the labor, figuratively and literally. And it's a lot of fun. It's a really interesting business. Obviously, there's an element of it that's really fun.
Right.
But also, what I've learned is that, to me, much like mortgage banking, not the same personalities, but people in the wine business are really cool. And it's really fun because, again, there's a business element to it, but there's also a social element to it. There's a cultural element to it. It's not, there's a lot of science to it, but it's not, in and of itself, it's not totally scientific.
Right.
You may like a wine that I don't, and I might like a wine that you do, and that doesn't make either of those wines good or bad.
Right.
It's a lot of it depends on, not only your taste, but also the time. If it's a wonderful dinner, even an average wine might end up being wonderful for you. So it's pretty cool.
Good. Well, I'm going to cut it off there, so thank you, everybody.
I think I ran over my limit. Brian
Yes.
Brazard's going to give me that.
Yes. So thanks, everybody, for tuning into Wednesdays with Willie and Maria.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. See ya.